Good day, everybody. Welcome back. This is Kevin Hogan, your author of 21 books, translated into over 41 languages worldwide. Today, effective communication patterns in intimate relationships. There are patterns that people use every day in their intimate relationships. Almost always those patterns are disasters. So let's look at some of the disasters that people use and then what you and I are going to do that's different than what everybody else is doing, because the results that they're all getting is terrible. The first mistake that people make is one-upping. So they tell you about the story about how they came home today and they almost got killed in the car accident because it was really, really close. And then you say, that's nothing. You should see what happened to me when I was yesterday and the guy almost cut me off, and oh my God, you talk about close to death. You were 4 inches, I was 1.5 inches from death, right? So the solution, the pattern here is to listen fully to the other person's story, comment on it, communicate about it, make sure that it's completely elicited. And then, if you feel truly compelled to share a similar story, which I wouldn't, by the way, but if you had to, if it was just killing you, then you would share it. And you would share it really in a super tight version. But the reality is that you shouldn't, because that pattern of the person tells you a story and you replicate a story with a better story below is actually not a good tool. So the first mistake that people make is that they one-up the person. The second mistake in that pattern is they have to share a similar story. Best not to share at all, but if you had to, it would be a story that's shorter, tighter, and not as impressive as theirs. So you could say, for example, you could say, yeah, you know what, I've almost gotten into car accidents a lot of times lately, but nothing as close as that, right? Okay, cool. All right. The second mistake that people make in intimate relationships, those things that really matter and the things that blow the future of that intimacy, at least for a little while, is that you instantly try and solve someone's problem. And I confess that this is one of the things I'm guilty of. I see the world as like a big walking problem, and I'm constantly trying to fix it all the time. And if I took a long time to fix as many problems as I see it, I wouldn't have any time for anything else. So I usually say, do that, do that, do that, do that, do that, do that. That's all great when people work for you and they have to do what you tell them to because you pay them, right? But it's not so great in an intimate relationship. The reality is that a lot of problems, this is particularly true for women, don't really need to be solved. Women have a lot of problems, period. Women have a lot of problems that they don't need solved, or that even if they were solved, they wouldn't feel better because they often, not always, but often process material through their feelings and emotions. So you can sit there and solve the problem, you can have the right answer, and it's not, by the way, always true of just women. There are men that experience this too, but it's really not programmed biologically or culturally into men anywhere near like it is with women. So ultimately, the best thing to do is, instead of solving the problem, like coming up with the answer right now, is to just listen. Let the person be heard. Let them communicate about how difficult things are. Let me give you an example. Imagine that you're a guy and you were off all day at work, and imagine that the wife here was with the little baby all day, right? And so midday the light went out and she tried to replace the light bulb and it wouldn't get replaced. So she tries and tries and tries, fails, takes her an hour, kid drives her crazy, she's going nuts, right? This, by the way, is a very realistic scenario. So you come home and she says, oh honey, I had an absolutely maddening day, the damn light switch doesn't work, nothing works here, I can't believe what's happening. She's freaking out, right? So the guy immediately goes and screws the light bulb in, right, and puts the light bulb in and fixes it and the light works. And he says, honey, everything is fine, don't worry. Okay, he thinks he solved her problem. He didn't. He just lit the match and blew up the bomb. All right, so that's how men versus women typically, not always, but typically think and process information. When she has a problem, you might want to find out if she wants help solving the problem or whether you should just listen and pay attention. Okay, you don't have to be quite that bold, but it's valuable for you. Whether you're a woman or a man is not important. But for you to understand whether the person is looking for a solution to a problem or not can be extremely valuable. For example, say that somebody comes home, they've got the groceries. You might think that helping the person bring in the groceries from the car is a logical thing to do. It just cuts the number of trips that somebody has to make. But that is a rational thing to do. People don't think rationally, they emote. And so it's more valuable to say, would you like me to help you bring in the groceries from the car? At which point you will get a remarkable amount of no. You'll wonder, where is the logic behind that? Why would somebody want to carry in 5 sets of groceries when they'd only have to carry in 2 or 3? Doesn't matter. The reality is that you are looking for effective communication patterns in intimate relationships, and this is one of them. Find out what people want. Not everybody wants a solution to a problem. Sometimes they just want to be heard and understood. Cool? Third error people make in intimate relationships is that they tend to ignore the beliefs and the values of the other person. So let's just make this super simple. That person has values and beliefs that they weigh as important and as significant as you do your own. And if you want to seriously have an intimate relationship with that person, it could be a business relationship, but I'm thinking intimate relationship like one-on-one, the most important primary relationship that you have, you should be able to defend and promote their most deeply held values and beliefs. So if that person was absent, you would be able to communicate and articulate to an audience of people or to one friend precisely what that person believes, thinks, and values about this specific subject. And if you can't do that, then you need to dig in there and find those beliefs that matter most to the person and the values that they have that matter most, so you could promote and defend those to an audience or to one person and be successful at doing it. That shows you care. Fourth big error that people make in intimate relationships is they don't know how to diffuse the big bomb issues. And the big bomb issues, the real big bomb issues, are things like abortion and politics and religion, stuff like that. These are things that aren't typically created logically. So a person comes about their belief in capital punishment, or they come about their belief in abortion, or they come about their belief in religion or in politics. These are not typically things that are weighed out at a calculus table. No, these are things that tend to come because of values and beliefs, and we're sort of moved towards them. The way that you work in an intimate relationship is as you discover how people came to believe what they believe. And that's the kind of a question that you ask them. So somebody says a completely different, they believe something politically or religiously that you just don't. And by the way, your relationship with your beliefs and your relationship with your values is going to change over time. It may not change drastically, or it might. It might change a lot. And I don't care one way or the other whether it does or not, but I need to be able to look at you and to elicit from you, so how is it that you came about to believe this? I think that's just fascinating. Or how is it that you came about to think that? Because I find it cool as heck. How is it that you came about to understand that? Because I would like to know how you think about that. Those are the kinds of questions that nobody can get mad at. Now here's the thing. Sometimes you'll catch a person off guard with that kind of a question because nobody ever asks that tier, that level of thinking question to other people. So don't be surprised if somebody kind of like momentarily freaks out. It happens all the time, all right? But that is such an unusual situation. It's rarely processed as anything in a negative way. It's usually just awkward for a moment. And the person says, well, I don't know, I guess I just always went to church with my mom or my grandma or whoever when I was a kid, and so I just believe that. Or I was always a Democrat and I still am today. Or you have to be a Republican because you got a lot of money. Or, of course, you're a libertarian because, you want people to not spend money and you want them to believe, basically that they have a right to believe anything they want to believe. Okay, right? Okay, so those are the kinds of questions that you ask in an intimate relationship to capture that information and to show the person that you're thinking about them. You're thinking not only about them, but about their thinking processes in a way that they don't even think about. Sometimes that's very personal, but the cool thing is it's always relevant. It's always salient to them. They will always know that you are the person who cared that much. Neat? Okay? So be the person who cares this much. With all of these patterns, you will do much better in capturing those intimate moments in relationships that really matter. Have a great day. I'll see you here next time.